how'd you guys get into what you're doing now, web and digital?
After you, brother.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'd say Imperium in itself. So we started originally as Imperium Social, and that was I always get it wrong. Like 4 or 5 years ago, October of 2018. We originally started as like a social media company because Wes and I were trying to figure out what the heck we were going to do after university. So we're thinking we'll go right back onto entrepreneurship, and Wes will probably tell a good story about like how we kind of got started and got rolling. Basically started off into social media of October of 2018. Realized very quickly that we didn't like social media too much. And we started looking more into like the digital side of the business when we were talking with companies, more on like the web application, website development portion.
Why didn't you like it?
To be honest, like we were like trying to look how to get some money at the same time, you know? So we just kind of picked something that had like a nice low barrier of entry. And social media, like I was messing around with like bots and like trying to bot people's accounts to try and get them more followers. I was working like with this company out of New York City. Was working well, so I was like, fuck, let's do this ourselves and try and get it rolling. But very quickly realized like that model was almost about to be out the door in terms of like the easiness of doing this, and also too, it was so hard to like sell a product to a client that we were about 50% sure if their account would get banned or not. But we were still like, we'll try and sell it. But eventually it was tough to kind of put that into a sales process.
Was it like businesses and stuff you were working
Yeah,
with?
yeah,
Or
like
just like random like Instagram thoughties?
It was both, to be honest. Like we had one chick that did not go too
So
well.
bad.
Yeah, went super terrible. We got her followers, but not in the niche that she wanted followers in, essentially.
She was pretty upset.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then we were just doing the same shit that we've done before, which is kind of like cold calling businesses here in Kingston and around the area. Very much realized like that model was going out because it was going to be a system that Instagram was cracking down on, and two, like it's tough to sell something that you think is going to get banned for a while.
It was pretty funny too. I remember like our first account got banned, and we're like, "Is this a big deal?" Chris was like, "No, it's fine, man. It's fine." It's like we could not recover this account. It's just gone forever.
Yeah.
It was like, "Ooh, I don't know if this is a route we should take."
Exactly.
It proved to be a good choice to kind of pivot a little bit.
No, 100%. Yeah. So the confidence was like, hey, we cannot sell this with good conscience to a bunch of businesses. So we're like, let's figure out, let's not put this idea completely to the side. And then we were doing a little bit work with websites and like some of the site development. We're like, let's just bring this in house. Like we're trying to do it more on the side, but we might as well make this like a common service, because I imagine even with like media, like where we are, like the digital and the website's just so far behind here. So it's kind of like an easy shoe-in to kind of get started and get rolling. Like even the stuff we were pumping out like 4 years ago is still decently better than what was currently in Kingston right now, which was nice. So eventually we saw like the market was liking it. We were going down the streets, like knocking on doors, getting people to try and get websites, and it was just slowly kind of what became the bread and butter of what we do now for the Imperium side. And I'm not going to talk about the blue collar transition, but
it's kind of funny. Like Chris and I met like playing football at Queens, and I think like the story you're referring to before is like Chris and I, like we didn't know each other beforehand. We roll into training camp. It's like you're basically just at like West Campus at Queens. You know nobody. It's kind of like a terrifying experience, honestly. And it's like you're just doing 2-a-days. It's just miserable, and you're always like looking for like a moment to laugh and like get to know people. And like Chris just being like the very like outgoing guy that he is, it was like, I want to say like 2 days into training camp, and then I catch this guy like in my closet, like eating food that my parents left me, and like we've been like pretty good friends since then. But it was funny, like in the positions that we played in football, there was like a lot of like communication and everything like that we needed to have playing like DB. We constantly talking with each other and stuff. So like we had like a good like working relationship in that kind of sense. And then it's funny, like one summer, I guess was it going into third year? I think so.
for SBS.
Yeah, going into third year, we basically were looking for summer jobs, and I got a job like working for a property maintenance company doing sales. And I told Chris, I was like, I think you'd be really good at this. You should come join. And so Chris joined. We realized like quite quickly, like we got promoted. I was doing all the operations. Chris was doing all the sales, and we were getting treated like terribly by this company. So basically, like one day, like just kind of up against our car in the parking lot, we were just like, you know what, like we should quit and just start our own thing. So like called the boss right then and there and just quit and start our own company. I took about 80% of the employees with us, which was interesting. And that was kind of like our like introduction into like a lot of like the blue collar stuff. So we ran this company for 3 years doing like interlocking, stone landscaping, deck building, window cleaning, all that kind of stuff. And then we had backgrounds in trades as well too. Like I did concrete forming, like growing up working for a guy, lots of carpentry stuff, some roofing stuff, all that good stuff. And then so we ran that business for a few years, and then ended up selling our client list at the end of university. And then so fast forward to running Imperium, we're basically doing generalist websites. So for websites for just about everybody under the sun. The tough thing with that is like it's very tough to like streamline the things that you're doing. So like what we found out was like, it was like we really like working in like the blue collar industry, and it's like one that we have like a very good like background in. It's also when the people are great, you know what I mean? It's just like shooting the shit with your buddies, all that kind of stuff. So it was kind of a no brainer, like all the stars kind of align. It's like we're doing really good work for these guys. Everything kind of checks the boxes. So about 2 years ago, probably, we started getting like the wheels in motion for blue collar marketing. And then last November, we actually launched it there.
Sweet. And what is, like, if you summed it up, like, what is blue collar marketing, if like your mission, purpose, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so blue collar marketing is just marketing for the trades. So helping construction companies achieve their goals through like online marketing. So we are firm believers that like there's more to running a business than just like the digital side of things, but like we want to make sure that you dominate that digital side of things. So that's kind of what we really focus on, just through solid website design, social media, media production, thanks to guys like you, advertising, SEO, and all that kind of stuff there. So really just dominating the digital side.
How important is that? Like, I guess what are like some of those maybe like client success stories, or like how important, first of all, is digital for traditional industries like that? And then, is there like a client success story that stands out to you guys of something you guys worked on?
Big time. I think with this industry, it's interesting because it's very clear, and we say this to almost like every sales call when we start. It's like this industry is very much like an industry that works well with like traditional advertising, traditional marketing. Like it's no secret that a lot of these companies are huge $1 million, $1 billion companies, and some of them don't even have a website or anything digital at all. Yeah. So it's definitely not something that's necessarily like a secret that traditional works. But one thing that we found, even when we ran like SPS, that like there's like a good opportunity on the online side that we were able to kind of take advantage of, because when we were running SPS, we were facing against competitors like Student Works, College Pro, and within realistically like no entry point, or like not a small amount of time, we were able to kind of take over like a good chunk of their market, just because some of the online stuff that we have with like our advertising and how we kind of use digital as a tool to kind of go up and above for what the other companies were doing. So in terms of like the question, like how important it is more of just like taking like advantage of like an opportunity that's like just so blatantly out there. Like most of our sales call that we have with people now, it's like we can almost guarantee when we look at like the competitors in their industry, like we're gonna have no problem making them a website that's gonna like blow everyone out of the water, and then also to make them be seen, because the way people are still making their sites is like way back in like the 2000s, where Google can't even understand like what they're trying to do, and there's
just all text.
Yeah, exactly. It's just text. It doesn't even say like what location they're serving, what services they're offering. So Google's like, I have no idea where to put this website or this person. So if we kind of like look at, for example, like it's like an excavation company in Ottawa, like if that's getting searched like 300 to 400 times, and like you're not even on the first page for that, like there's a good opportunity for you to make yourself aware to customers that are already looking for you. So like one example that I'd say would be not really a success story, but one that we've worked with for a while would be like WRC Contracting. Like he was like our OG website client when we were just starting to try and figure out things on the digital side, and like through understanding a little bit of stuff about like the local SEO, the keyword research, and as we've had him for like 2-3 years, like he now dominates like most of the first page for like a lot of his search terms. And, like a cool story that Wes has when he was like visiting his buddy Blake up. It was like with Blake.
Yeah. So Blake, the owner of WRC, is a good like friend of mine from high school, and his dad Jeff does all his like sales appointments and all that kind of stuff now. And it was pretty funny. I was just visiting him on a Sunday, and I was grabbing a couple like hats and T-shirts from him, and we were just catching up about random stuff. And then Jeff comes outside. We're just leaning against my truck talking, and Blake's like, "Where are you going?" It's like a Sunday afternoon at like 3:00, and he's like, "I'm going to like quote a job downtown Ottawa." And he's like, "Well, where the hell did you get that?" And he just pointed over at me. He's like, "Website." And he's like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then it was like perfect. And he's like, "Yeah, then I'm going here and here after this." And Blake's like, "I haven't heard of those ones. Like, where are those ones come from?" And he pointed at me again. He's like, "Website." And Blake's like, "God damn, you must be doing something right, So
yeah, that's sick.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool story. Like Blake will call us like just kind of out of the blue and be like, "I just got a $75,000 like landscape landscaping job off of the website.
Has their crew, like, they've been able to offer obviously then more opportunity and positions and scale their company throughout that period as well?
Yeah, big
Like,
time, I'd
yeah.
say so for sure, 100%. Like it's been cool because we've kind of took like a backseat view of them kind of growing their own company. Like obviously, again, like the traditional side, they do a lot of stuff that way that works really well. But it's just cool to see them as like they're getting jobs from like search terms that they're just only appearing for the site there. So yeah, it's cool kind of being a part of that journey. It just kind of shows you, again, it's just like another tool to add to the tool belt. And when you have companies that you're coming in as like a new guy or a newer company, you want to try and win on any aspect possible. And I think that kind of goes to our mission, which is really much like to dominate your trade. Like a big portion of this, like Wes and I are pretty competitive guys, like coming from football and stuff. So like we really do it as like if this is like an opportunity that your company has, like we want to get on board with people who are kind of within that 0 to 1 to 10 million phase, and just make them just better than any company that's kind of in their market right now on the digital side, because there's just such an opportunity everywhere you kind of go where people are just so far behind that. Like, why wouldn't you want to be on the first page of Google when someone's looking up like landscaping, Guelph or landscaping Cincinnati or something like that, and you're trying to get more customers in that sense.
That's cool. What is like the process for, I guess, well, first off, is your industry super competitive, like in that space, like with servicing the trade specifically? Are there a lot of players in there, or most like more aesthetic focused, or like functional site builders? Are they more focused on like financial services, or like is there a lot of competition in the trade space?
Yeah, not necessarily, to be honest with you. I would say that we compete a lot against like generalist marketing agencies, like Imperium used to be. And because we have we know exactly like what's going on in this industry, and like we're able to talk about the services. We actually understand like what these guys are doing. It gives us like a huge advantage.
Right.
To be honest with you, like more often than not, the guys come from two places. One of them, they've never had an online presence before. And so they're like, I just need some help. And then the other option is they came from like a generalist agency and most likely had a terrible experience. And they're looking for somebody who just like knows their industry and like what the hell's going on. So and I know you deal with this. The marketing just like industry as a whole, man, has a bad rap.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of companies that offer they oversell their services and underdeliver heavily. And it's something that we fight against like constantly. But I think we're doing a very good job of like trying to change that. You know what I mean? It's just like that's one of those things that like we have to work to overcome, because more often than not, 50% of the people that come knocking on our door have had a bad experience before.
It's kind of like it's like the nightclub experience. It's like they brand it for like 2 years. Like there's a lot of marketing companies that do that. They go in, they just make a bunch of cash real quick, close the doors, and then the owners go rebrand as something else constantly, like all the time, just because they've tarnished that name of that corp. I guess there's a lot of industries that do that. Automotive is a big one for like used car sales and things like that. But it is sad because a lot of people do the same thing with us, like come to us and they're like, we had a terrible experience. They're very like cautious to jump back in. But yeah, it's cool to see the work that you guys have done though to help navigate people through that, and the attention you guys put into every project you guys take on.
Yeah, respect. I was honestly kind of worried a little bit too, like niching into an industry too. It almost seems like it would be, like less customers, a little bit more like hyper focused competition. But once we made the switch, like it was very clear to us, like almost kicking ourselves. But it was good that we had Imperium in the back end for like a lot of like the technical stuff that we do with like some of like the case study portion. Yeah. But like just seeing the response that we got from blue collar, and like we can actively be like in that expert seat where it's like, okay, rather than, it's the same guys who are running Imperium. We have the same skill set. But now just because we have like blue collar marketing behind our name, like we're taking a little bit more seriously from like we're having customers from the trades that are saying like we went for you guys strictly because you guys specialize in the trades, which has been such a nice thing for the sales portion, but also kind of opened ourselves like, okay, niching doesn't necessarily like limit your customers in that sense. Like you actually make yourself more valuable on that side. So like competing as a general agency is honestly probably a lot tougher. Yep. And now with everything happening with like AI and a lot of like the technology stuff, like the more you're like a generalist right now, like you're just going to be kind of poised to be swallowed alive right now in terms of competition.
That makes sense. In terms of service area, like obviously we're in a small town, and I think a lot of people overlook Kingston a lot of the time as being like, nothing's there. You just go to Ottawa, Toronto, or if you're stateside, go to New York or wherever. How competitive can you be, I guess, across North America now with kind of where we're at in the digital space?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think we've never had an issue with like location. I'd say too much. So we definitely use Kingston over the last 5 years is like solidifying that base. Like one of Wes's eyes, I'd say Wes's and I's best like sales assets is that we were very good with like the initial like starting of like cold calling door to door. Like a city like Kingston is like perfect for that. People talk a lot, you get the word of mouth stuff, but it's not necessarily like a foundational piece, I'd say, to build the business. So when I went to blue collar, all the shit that we learned with like the digital side and like getting clients in the door there, and also the fact that we had like, you know, I'd say 20 to 30% of our clients were already on the trade side. Like it made it easy to kind of transition and start attacking more of like a North American base. Like we're getting leads from the States and Canada. It's not really, it really just depends on where we put our budget in.
Right.
But I think for like our agency as a whole, like no one's really looking too much for like a physical agency unless it's like serving like that general market, like your Kingston's web design company,
Right,
Kingston's
right.
media company or something like that, where for us it's now we're niching rather than a service, we're niching in like an industry, which is the trades, which has now allowed us to, people don't care too much about
Having that
our
local
being in
presence,
Kingston,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right.
even some people too. Like I do the intro calls with clients, and some of them like almost want to make sure we're not like one of those agencies with like a big fancy like office with a ton of people. It's just not really going to pay attention to them. You know what I mean? They're kind of just like, we don't care if you're remote. It's just long as you like are actually going to do what you're saying you're doing.
Right.
You know, they don't mind. And it's
Yeah.
like we have clients in BC and we have clients in Nova Scotia and then all the way down south in the United States. You know, so it's like it doesn't really. It's the beauty of doing something digital, right? Is like we can be anywhere, which
Yeah.
is nice.
How much of your sales process, you guys said you guys are obviously great salespeople. How much of that is direct sales versus like leveraging like online ads? Do you guys know those metrics or like have like a ratio of that? Do you guys still do a lot of cold calling for accounts? What does that look like?
Yeah, to be honest, we're not doing too much cold calling right now. Like there's ways that we want to try and start integrating with like bigger, high level, like so like if we wanted to contact like associations to like give them a deal for like their like tradespeople or whatever, that'd be more of a direct thing, but we haven't pushing too far into that.
Like a home builders association kind of thing?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, got it.
We do that more like organically right now. Like even like the Kingston's Home Builders Association, we try and show face, go to events or like different communities online, we'll just try and show face. But like the direct side, to be honest, like blue collar, we have a great ads partner and like a great ads that we run ourselves too as well, which has worked very well, just getting like inbound leads, and then our sales process kind of takes over the rest there. I'd
Yeah.
say, for the most part.
Yeah, honestly, like just doing quality work has led to like a ton of referrals, which I think is huge for us. Trades guys love to talk to. each
Yeah,
other,
yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean, it's always like, oh, what's this guy doing? Like, how can I do it better? You know what I mean? So that's been a big thing is referrals, and then just running ads and everything like that has been good.
Yeah.
We haven't picked up the phone in a while and done direct calling. We did when we first got to Kingston. We did like door to door. We knocked on like every business's door, and we got told no a lot of times.
We're selling shit for free too, you know. It was like
Yeah.
an offer we were doing where they're giving $2,000 to the local businesses, and they still didn't want it. We're like,
Did
okay,
you want to use it like
no.
Main Street
Yeah,
brands?
yeah,
Main
exactly.
Street brands?
That's literally what it was. We branded it as if it was almost our own brand. Like, you can get $2,500 for free. And people are like, get out of my shop.
Yeah.
And it's pretty funny. It was
No
like,
problem, sir.
okay.
All right, see you later.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah, a lot of people are hesitant to do that. I guess the paperwork.
Yeah, like just too good to be true too. Like
Yeah.
we kind of just knocked it. Like I feel like if we did that again, we'd go about it maybe a teeny different way. But yeah, I feel like too good to be true, and yeah, a little bit of that side. Also with blue collar, like I feel like a big reason why we haven't done too much direct is that it's not like we're starting from scratch, which I think is like a big thing. Like we have case studies, we have projects, we have clients, which make like the process a little bit easier.
Right.
Yeah, definitely be curious because I feel like it'd be tough to just cold call trades people over the phone for digital metrics because they already don't care too much about digital. Where that's why the ads work well because we're getting them more on like an intent driven search, either with PPC or like them just being like, oh shit, we have cool media, cool commercials that your team's whipping up for us. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you see it as one of those things like as people start to do it, it's becoming more of like a non-negotiable for like companies or contractors? Or do you think they can still rely on those traditional methods for the next like 20, 30 years?
Yeah, I think a lot of them are realizing that like there's a huge opportunity that they're missing out on. Like, of course, there's going to be exceptions where like if you're a contractor that only does like heavy civil work for like municipalities and stuff like that, it completely makes sense that you don't really need a social media and that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? You need a professional website so that when you're bidding on projects, they can go and like look at, you know, your quality
It's
work.
more like PR.
Exactly.
Stuff.
Yeah, very much so. But there's definitely like tons of your residential and commercial guys that it's like if you don't have a website, like you're missing out on potential thousands of searches a month. You know what I mean? It's an entirely like untapped market, and like consumers have adjusted, right? They're searching for construction service, landscaping services, all that kind of stuff online, but the businesses, a lot of them have not. So there's huge opportunities for a lot of these guys, and they just haven't taken advantage of it. So I definitely think it is important. And yeah, a lot of guys too, and they ask, you know, like I'm getting so much business already, you know what I mean? Like, why do we need to do that? And we just try to explain like the difference between like what's going on with different platforms, intent-driven search, everything like that, preparing themselves for, you know, when times aren't so great, especially maybe heading into a global recession. It's like, like what are you gonna do when jobs start to really dry up, you know what I mean? And the same people that always call aren't calling, you know? Right. Like if you can put yourself in a good spot by being on the first page of Google or running ads, whatever it may be, you're going to be in a much better spot, you know? So,
Yeah. What do you think is like the best use of dollars? Like what platform, if you had to pick a platform for the trades, would be like the best platform to kind of at least dump some attention into?
Man, I'd say definitely. It depends on like what you're looking for too, as well. Like for the whole digital side, like it's either, you know, mostly either looking for like lead generation or like brand awareness. If it's like on a lead generation side, then like Google is definitely where you want to have the biggest presence, I'd say. So like if someone's looking up like landscapers in Ontario or landscapers in my town, like you definitely want to show up when you're there. So you need a web presence for that. Building up like the brand and community, I definitely say like Facebook and Instagram are going to be the double ways to go. The only problem that we get from like a lot of tradespeople is that like there's a lot of tire kickers on social media. So they'll see like a dope job or an ad that you posted, and then they'll just say like they'll just contact you, and it won't really like lead to too much because they're just people going through their phones and stuff. But I definitely say like lead generation for me would be Google, and then like if it's just like brand awareness, and that's when the socials kind of kick into play, and that's when like you're looking at like Facebook for community, and then Instagram for more of like the visual portion of the business.
Showcasing jobs before, afters, that kind of thing.
yeah, and I think too, social media is now becoming like a bigger play as well for hiring. Like a lot of guys, like
recruitment
Ken,
side?
like Ken White Construction is like a great example of that. Like his socials are just so dialed. They look so sick, and people want to come work for this guy. You know what I mean? When we built his website, like one of the most important pieces of his website is probably his careers page, and a lot of that traffic just comes directly from socials.
Yeah.
Like when we talk to people on sales calls, it's funny, they love the guy so much they're like, I would literally like move across the country to work for him, and they own their own country. Like it's their own company. Sorry, it's hilarious, man. Like it's crazy. So. It is what it is, but I think social media is becoming like more and more important for that. Just showing that like, hey, this is a fun place to work. Like we have a good time, but we work hard, and you're gonna like learn and have room to grow is super important to communicate on your website and then your socials as well too.
Cool. That's sweet. With your business specific, what were some of like the challenges you faced when you guys were, you know, not just starting, but maybe what you faced when you were starting, and then also what's kind of evolved as you've expanded and grown? What are some of those like unique challenges, or like what was the hardest thing you faced?
Yeah, challenges right off the get go was just getting any type of anything.
Yeah, jeez.
And we would literally it was funny, like we started off and like I was back home in the Ottawa Valley, Chris was back home in Durham region, and we quickly realized like we were getting nothing done. We were like, we need to just like come back to like a place that we both know. So we moved back to Kingston. We could not get like we were not making any money. So we could not get like any place. We needed like paychecks and stuff like that. So we literally like made fake pay stubs for, you know, like a certain amount. It's like we own the company, so it's like, can they really like fact check this? So so we did that to sign a lease, and the lease was for this place on Division Street that was like rat infested. It was terrible. And then
Shithole. Oh my god.
Oh, it was disgusting, man. It was brutal. And so we moved back to Kingston. We're in this rat-infested house. We get a small, like, little office space, same spot, actually at Sanctuary Co-working. Okay. We're just in, like, this little cubicle. Chris and I just, like, shoulder to shoulder. And, like, we legitimately would show up to work at like 9 a.m. and be like, what, like, how do we make any money? We have no sales.
What are we doing?
What are we doing? Like, essentially, yeah. And we did this for like months and months and months. It was just like, we just like stayed at it and like slowly figured stuff out, got some jobs, got some referrals, and like just kind of worked away. But it was like that initial, like, we didn't really like have any direction at first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We didn't understand like, okay, like what like avenues are going to be beneficial for our time, what we're doing. Yeah, like we were very much like, okay, we saw the value in marketing from our old business. Now let's open a marketing company, and we didn't really know what we were doing.
Did you have like mentors or anything that were helping you like on the sales side, or you just kind of went into it and just started swinging?
Not too much in the beginning. We had one conversation with a person, we won't name them, but we had one convo where it was like someone trying to be more of like on the business mentorship portion. And like Wes and I were saying like how much we wanted to kind of own our own thing and like really move into that space. And like this guy thought he was giving us some like good advice, and like at the end he was like, you guys need to work for me. And we're like, okay, so you didn't really listen to anything that we just said there. So
No.
yeah, didn't really do too much of like the mentorship thing. Now we have a guy that we chat with now, which is nice, and seeing the value in that for like a lot more of the high level stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the beginning it was just figuring out what do we sell, like what are we doing, and then once we got to like selling and actually making a little bit of money, it was like, okay, now we're like selling like consulting, we're selling social media, we're selling websites, like graphics, like just anything for like anyone really. And now it's like, what are we actually like honing into?
Right.
And that's when we started doing like the SEO, the logo design, and the website. Like, okay, we have 3 things that we can sell now.
A bit more specialized.
Yeah, which was, and we thought that was specialized, and that still was just so large for like a smaller team. Like it was Wes and I, and then we'd subcontract a lot of the stuff out.
Yeah.
That was definitely like an interesting process of figuring out how to go from like point A to point B there. So
Yeah. What would be your advice to somebody like to skip some of the brutal periods if somebody else was getting into the industry or even just looking for a career in the space?
I'd say like niche by industry or niche by service. Like pick a niche and do that. That's one thing I really wish that we did, but I'm happy that we didn't, because I think a reason why our product and service offering is strong, like humbly strong, is because we've sorted out a lot of like the shit on like the technical side, the customer management, the operational side.
Right.
Like definitely would have picked up faster, I think, with niching into either like a specific service solely, because you can even niche in just SEO. There's so many different things in SEO that you can niche further, or even like graphics and branding or websites.
Right.
It's like niching by service or niching by like a specific industry. If you can do construction, real estate, or something like that, I'd say that would be my 2 things from the get-go.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But I think too, it's like from like us just kind of doing what we were doing and just trying to like figure out everything. It definitely led to, like you're saying, like a better service offering. You know what I mean? But we have seen people who've started a few years after us and like stuck with one niche and stuff, and they've been like much more successful. You know what I mean? Just like much quicker. You know?
Yeah.
I definitely wish that. I think too, it's like if you are starting this out, I think it is important to have like a good partner as well too. Someone just like you can share like that end goal with and keep yourselves motivated, because like there are going to be times when it does suck and it is going to be challenging. Like I've got Chris, you've got Jake, you know what I mean? It's like having that guy to like lean on is super important, especially like having complementing skill sets is going to be huge. So.
Yeah, that's a huge one. Yeah, finding if it's one thing to like hire it out, your deficiencies, but another if the partner that you're going through stuff with is also strong in your deficient areas, it's amazing.
Yeah, makes the world of a difference.
Yeah, for sure. What are some of the, I guess, worst parts about your industry that you'd like to see changed?
Yeah, I actually thought of this question, I think, beforehand too. But for me, it's just like the barrier of entry to this industry is so low. Like so low, where like anyone and their mother could like say they have like a marketing agency and do this just by like reselling services off of that. So I think like a big reason why we get some of our clients are people either burned by, people that don't know what they're doing, or even old agencies and like old legacy companies that don't know what they're doing, because they're just trying to like, they'll pass it off to an intern or try and bring something on where they don't have too much expertise in.
Right.
But I definitely say like people jumping in when they don't know what they're doing right off the bat, or at least in our case where like we were in a similar situation where we didn't really know what we were doing in that aspect, but we made sure that we sold it at an appropriate price and like at least provided the value to the end customer so that we could like look them in the eyes and make sure that we're at least doing something well. Where there's people who are trying to sell $2,000, $3,000 marketing programs for like an industry that they have no experience in, that they don't even know what to sell or what to serve to it. So that would be, I'd say, like my biggest peeve with the industry that I'd like to see kind of change is like a little bit more, I guess, like responsibility to the end client,
Right.
and not just like people will jump into this because they want freedom for their family and they want freedom for this and
Yeah.
a relaxing lifestyle. Where I think Wes and I are a little bit different, where we kind of really want to see, especially like the blue collar marketing brand grow, and like have passion towards that, which is like passion to our end client. It's not just like, oh, we're seeing ourselves sipping tequilas and
On the
pina coladas
beach
on the
and
beach, you know?
fucking
Yeah.
laptop on the
That's not
beach
really-
side.
Yeah.
No, that's not what it is.
Exactly.
I thought you guys just flew in from Mexico.
Yeah, there we go.
Unfortunately not.
That's nice.
Yeah, I'd say that for me is kind of like the biggest bugger that I see in the industry.
Yeah, and it flows in perfectly with mine. I talked about it earlier too. It's just the stigma around marketing companies
Yeah.
is that just marketing companies offer like shit customer service and don't deliver on their promises and stuff like that. It's like it devalues the services that we offer. It's like we are like genuinely trying to help businesses and really help them grow and like achieve sales and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And just from other people doing terrible jobs in the past and like not responding to people and just all that.
Man,
kind of
I don't
stuff.
understand the response times. Like
insane.
we've dealt with clients that are like, oh yeah, like we would have a typical response time of 3 to 4 days with our past production company. I'm like, that is insane. Like, I don't understand like what these people are doing to not have a structure in place where like minimum 24 hours, and we try to shoot for like an hour to 2 hours tops. I would love to see it eventually at 5 minutes. Like I have a goal to have, that's what our response time is, at least to a general response to move you through the process. But I would say on average, we're at like 45 minutes response time on basically everything.
Yeah.
Well, like it's crazy. Some of these people that just sit there for days in an inbox.
Oh, it's wild. And
nuts.
I think too, like that's part of the reason like we were able to be successful, like and kind of figure this out is because well, one, we were sitting in the box with nothing to do, so there was literally no excuse for us to not answer people fast. But like there's people who called us and they were like, yeah, I reached out to 5 other companies and they never got back to us.
Yeah.
So like you're the just like. It's not that you were the best choices; that you guys
You
were
were
literally the
available.
only ones that answered your phone. It was like, okay, sounds good.
You won by
Big time.
default.
Legit,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's
yeah, just one for showing up there, basically.
Basically,
Yeah.
yeah. So like, yeah, it's something that's crazy to be honest with you. That's
Yeah.
going back to what I was saying though, yeah, definitely like devalues our industry unfortunately, and like gives a bad name. So something that like we need to like work like around every single sales call almost, which is interesting. But
Yeah. Yeah. That's
It's almost turned
interesting.
into like a sales, like even just a tactic. Is like we already know they're gonna have that pain point. It's something that we can like easily address, and like a lot of the reviews that we have already are like speaking to that more customer service nature of it.
Yeah.
So if anything, it just weaponizes us now to use that to kind of get a
Yeah, it's almost like an opportunity to again, like, kind of
Yeah.
show your value in a way
100%.
that is very applicable to their
big time.
past pain.
yeah, 100%. And it's something that it's like, okay, like every other company is doing like dropping the ball here. It was like, okay, we just need to like literally we'll get a bunch of business if we can just fill that void.
Yeah.
And it's worked. So
How do you see the space progressing, like within the industry itself? Like, for example, I always say, like, in the media space, we're more collaborative, and I think the companies that are going to do really well moving forward are ones that are more collaborative than just competitive. What are your thoughts on that? Is it similar in the web design space? And maybe talk a little bit about like marketing companies and how they all overlap a lot of times on projects.
True. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's funny with like at least on the website development side, like it's tough because like so many companies build things in so many different ways. So like seeing like different web design companies work together, I think that's more on like the super high ticket projects, not just like your normal medium to small. I'd say because like agencies will build it with like a certain type of builder if they're using WordPress, if they're using like Divi, if they're using like Webflow or like Squarespace. So it's hard unless you have like a humongous tech stack or you outsource to like India and Pakistan to kind of get that like collaboration there. I definitely think where the industry will shine is very much like having like smart partnerships within the locale. Like you guys are our media guys, you know, New Day Marketing is our social media guys, like finding like those core partners that you knew like are doing good work and moving forward that way. Then also staying away from like older companies that kind of just do everything and it's kind of like jack shit under the sun there.
Yeah.
I feel like collaborations, you know, the more people can specialize, especially as like smaller teams, like you're gonna get a better product. So I'm not sure if that answers the question,
That
but I
answers
definitely
it,
say
yeah.
on the
Yeah.
collaboration side, maybe.
That's exactly where I was going to go
Yeah.
with it as well too. It's just like, and especially too on our side of things as well, is like developing like white label relationships. So obviously there's certain situations when we just pass off clients to you, and then there's
Yep.
other situations where it's like, you know what, like we'll represent blue collar marketing in this store or Imperium, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So forming strategic white label relationships as well too has been something that's honestly really helped grow our business. So
Yeah.
it's just using our systems, processes, and our team, and being able to replicate that for other companies as well too, and help with their fulfillment issues has been something that's been honestly really cool and helped
Yeah.
us grow. So
That's cool.
yeah,
I think companies like it too. Like
Yeah.
if they're able to go, it's like it's great to find specialists all across the board. But if you've got a network of amazing other service providers, that then you can offload that work and kind of manage or broker that for the client, especially if it's a client you've building a long-term relationship with. It's they have the benefit of then only having to deal with one vendor and not have to deal with 14 sales calls or vendor calls every single week. So yeah, that's another huge thing. We've noticed that, at least in our space as well, being able to white label something off and still manage that relationship and that whole project.
Yeah, and there's pros and cons to it for each person too as well too. There's always going to be like interesting situations when you're trying to like figure stuff out, but at the same time, it's like there's a bunch of time savings for us as well too. Like we get a qualified person that's coming in. Like we didn't have to do any of the sales process. We didn't have to deal with all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's like here's the information. Like just get started. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And then we can just pass this off to the fulfillment side of things.
Yeah. Cool. What are your plans for the future? Where do you guys want to take blue collar marketing? If you could look out a few years, what does that look like?
Yeah.
It's a $1 million question. Yeah, definitely say $1 million question. I don't know, for on my end, it's like really just making it like the brand, I'd say, for the trades when it comes to digital marketing. Like I think we have like a good niche in terms of like between from like 0 to 1 to 1 to 10 to 10 maybe to 50 million in terms of like medium to small size contracting trades companies. I think is like our bread and butter.
Yep.
But very much just serving that industry and just being the best. Like very much similar to our thing on our hat there is like just dominating the trade. Like we want to dominate this sector when it comes to digital marketing. Like Imperium was fantastic and still is like our high end service offering, but to like niche into this, like it very much speaks to like Wes and I's backgrounds. Like we love working with trades guys. Like this is very much like I'd say like more on our passion, and to be able to provide like a good service for this, we just want to capitalize on.
Yeah.
So yeah, from mine, like very much just being the best in this biz here.
Yeah. I definitely like that. And like providing the services side of things is definitely something that's like, we need to like absolutely just be dialed and like continue to grow and like be able to offer like the same quality of service like as we scale.
Yeah.
And just like continue to add like more and more people to our staff and clients. And then also the other side of things too is just like really establishing ourselves as like an authority in our niche in terms of like media and content and all that kind of stuff. So we've got some pretty cool like plans for the future in order to kind of like really do that and put our names out there. So there's some guys in the industry who are just like absolutely just annihilating everybody else in terms of that right now, and it's honestly like really cool to see, and it's like people to look up to and chase, you know what I mean? And as Chris talked about earlier, like we're very like competitive guys, so like wanting to be able to like chase those guys and like be the best is something that's super exciting, and I think we've got some pretty cool plans in place to do that. So
That's sick.
not stuff that we can 100% reveal on the podcast, but it'll be cool, I promise you. Maybe in like 2 years
I was gonna say we'll do an episode 2. We'll come back in and see where you're at
exactly
at that point.
Yeah.
How do you guys balance like work and life? Obviously, you guys work a ton, and you're growing an agency. What do you guys do to kind of find some balance, or do you even believe in balance? Because on my end, I don't know if I really believe in balance. I think some people just do really well working 16 to 18 hours a day, and they absolutely love it, and they find fulfillment, like true fulfillment in that. Because there's a lot of different culture views on that. Like, you got to find balance, or is that balance, just leaning into what you're doing? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, fuck. I find work really is is life for, at least on my end here, and I think for Wes too, man. Like it's very much like obviously you have like personal stuff that you do there, but I think we tried to pick and create a career that's very much something that we like to do. Like we're working 24/7 all the time, but there's a lot of times when it doesn't feel like work, and there's a lot of times when it really does feel like work. But on the balance side is like as long as you can make sure you're taking care of yourself, and we're trying to put a bigger emphasis on like the health stuff. I think more recently is like the most important part. But in terms of like the balance, like it's really just when work needs to be done, like it just has to kind of get done.
Yeah.
And then it's thinking for that end goal of like we want to get it to a point where it's much more like autonomous, where we're making more of like the bigger impactful bird's eye view kind of ideas there and like changes there. But Yeah, it's not too much balance, at least on.
Yeah. Just also too having like a good support system and like surrounding yourself with people who get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think both of our girlfriends like very much understand like we're working for like towards like our very big goals. You know what I mean? And they understand that and like respect that. This is going to require like a shit ton of work and a lot of hours. You know what I mean? So like having people that like actually like appreciate the work that you're doing. And are like very patient and like understand like what you're doing is super helpful, and honestly just nice to have that kind of support system in the background as well too. So
that makes sense.
friends and family, man, it's like honestly like having like good friends and family is so nice. Like they understand the actual like end vision for the thing. So if you're going to fuck off for a couple weeks and like really just plug away, like they get it. They're not like, what the hell are you doing? Like, why? What's going on here? It's like they understand, like, this guy's driven. Like, he's trying to achieve something that's, outside of the usual, just like 9-to-5 job, and they understand that. So I think that's super important.
Yeah, that makes sense. What are your favorite parts about the industry? We talked about the worst parts. What are things that you love about, I don't know, what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I love like chatting with the guys that we deal with. Like very much like most of my buddies from back home like all went into the trades and stuff like that. So most of the time when these sales calls, it just feels like I'm honestly like shooting the shit with my friends. So I honestly just like love the people that we get to work with every day. Yeah. And then another thing too is like actually just like providing like a solid result for somebody. It's pretty cool like getting a phone call and someone just being like fired up about their like logo or like super satisfied with their website and stuff like that, and like seeing like getting a call from Blake and being like, yeah, we just got a $75,000 like landscaping job through our website, like that kind of stuff, like makes a difference. You know what I mean? So I that honestly, it's really rewarding.
For sure.
So yeah, I definitely love that about the industry.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'd say basically the exact same thing. Like I really like trying to keep up to date to make sure that we're kind of pumping out like the highest quality product that we can do. So just like keeping up with the trends, I think is really cool. Like a big thing that we're doing right now is like we're contacting a lot of like more of like software companies and just making like strategic partnerships. Like we're partners with Jobber now, Company
sick.
Cam. So just kind of like expanding on that network and seeing like what they have to offer, and then just offering that to our clients is pretty cool to kind of be in that all in one shop almost. I just like how much it's moving and that we're actually like ahead of it this time. With like Imperium, it's like we get a client, we're like, okay, how can we create a solution that works for this industry? We're now with Blue Collar, it's like, okay, we get someone in, we see your location, we do a little bit of research, and we know exactly, realistically, like the steps to kind of take you to where you want to be on the digital side.
Right.
Which I think that's like a much cooler position to be in now, and just making sure we're on top of that in terms of like the tech stack there, and then also too just chatting. Some of these guys are hilarious too, like. You get like the most we have pretty Canadian accents, but the Canadian accents you hear are like Halifax and Nova Scotia are wild, and like the southern accents you hear from like Georgia and stuff are just comical. So it's a lot of fun to kind of do like the sales calls too as well. Kind of just being very like boots on the ground on the industry, and then we'll do like media shoots where we can actually go and see the sites and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun, just a nice well-rounded mix of like obviously us being behind the computer, then also being able to go to clients or just chatting with them and kind of shooting the shit with them.
Sweet. How important is networking in your space? You guys, I think, just went to a trade show pretty recently. Yeah. How was that? What's the direct? I guess like it's one thing to go to those. I think a lot of people go to those events, and there's like this. Some people can be like, "Yeah, I'm going to them," and that is the thing. But like, how do you actually translate attending an event like that to real sales dollars or like a real relationship with the business, rather than just showing face?
Hondo, and I think that's one thing we're figuring out right now too, as well. Is like how do we best utilize our time at these trade shows? Like for us going to Con Expo this year was much more of like an observational thing. We wanted to see like this is our first time at Con Expo and just see what was going on. It's very much like I keep saying, it's like the Disney World of construction. Like it is insane. It is wild how much stuff they can fit down there. Like talking to some marketing coordinators, like, yeah, we just have like a pretty modest budget for the 4 days. I'm like, oh yeah, how much? She's like, it's like $1 million for 4 days. Like, oh, okay, cool. That's all right. Sweet, nice.
Same.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, cool. Yeah, perfect. I just had Denny's for 5 days in a row here. So this is great. Yeah, awesome. But I'd say
Flew Spirit Airlines down.
Oh
there.
yeah, 100%.
Flare.
I lost 2 of my bags, but this is good.
Duct tape on the wing.
They let you take bags. I thought they didn't even let you take bags.
But yeah, definitely like I'd say like that was really cool to see. And then for us, we very much went there just to kind of get content out for like a lot of our clients and like the people who are on our channels and stuff. So very much use it more as like a content driven thing and just trying to make some of those connections, especially with like those third-party services that could help our clientele. But now when we move forward, we look at trade shows, it's now like, okay, what can we do if we get a booth there? Or like, what can we do on top of just trying to get like network partners? Like, how do we actually translate that to like actual
Real
leads?
dollars. Yeah.
From just even going like the first time, like you definitely just like cold sell people going there. Like it's very much just building that network rapport relationship. What are you trying to do? Who are you? Like, what are you doing? And more just kind of shooting the shit, just having a beer with them is like realistically what I think would translate to the most sales. Like you don't cold sell people like a John and Deere exhibit would do. And they're looking at like this brand new electric skid steer.
Yeah. You got 10 minutes to buy this site, and if you don't, the price is going to go to X. You're not doing any of those. Just hard close while you're there.
But if we do like a promo booth, it was cool to see like there was like one or two other digital companies there that.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, are there a lot?
There wasn't too many. Like, there's a lot of like very niche specific like softwares for companies, whether it's like bookkeeping, accounting, like very much like you think of like Jobber or like Service Titan. There's probably like 50 or 60 of those in ConExpo that just do very specific things. So it's either like a calendar, like a scheduling one, or it's like an estimation software. So a lot of those guys, but like in terms of like marketing and media companies, there's very, very few.
Really? Interesting.
But I think it's like almost like there's an opportunity there too as well, which is
for
very,
sure.
very visible. Like people, no matter where they had a space in the booth, like there was traffic, like foot traffic in all corners, and this place was humongous. We're taking like trains to kind of get through like the different aspects of this place. Like the place was huge, but there was busy like every single way that you went.
Yeah.
And then also just utilizing speed, like talking and speeches. Like our good buddy Luke from Phaser Marketing like had a really sweet talk there too as well. And it was dope to see like how many people were there and like how responsive there was. And like Luke immediately was the expert in the room, could give like some really good quality answers to these people. Cool. And I can only imagine like how that would have translated for sales for him, because he's really just helping out people who are almost qualified as soon as they're sitting down because they want to learn about it, right? So
for sure,
a couple of ways I think that we've learned just kind of from going there, how we could utilize that for like the next convention or trade show and stuff.
Cool. That's sick. How important is content for you guys? You said obviously you use that going down there to create some content and put some content out there for some of your clients or potential clients. How have you guys utilized content to help build specifically blue collar?
Yeah, it's honestly been huge from the advertising side of things. Like we obviously got tons of videos done with you, and we do it every single month. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's nice too because it helps out our clients because they get nice media for their sites and socials and all that kind of stuff, and then also too like we get good advertising media from it. So just being able to run the social media ads has been significant for us. Like by far, like the return on it's interesting because for our clients, intent-driven traffic from Google ads is definitely the play. The tire kickers, like Chris alluded to earlier, from Facebook and Instagram, it's brutal. But for us, the social media side of things to advertise our business is the 100% the route to go. Like we tested Google, we tested Instagram and Facebook, and they by far like blow it out of the water. Yeah. And I think a lot of that has to do with having like good quality media. Like there's tons of people like that are doing marketing and stuff like that, and their messaging is just so like out of whack, and it's not targeted to who their clients are, so it just doesn't resonate with them. Whereas like our media is very much like it's similar to Ken White Construction's media. You know, it's like fast paced. Yep. It's like very much in your face. There's like dope shovels just like whipping around. There's dirt getting thrown. Like they're sick videos. You know what I mean? Yeah. Thanks to you guys, and it really resonates with these guys. It grabs their attention, and it's been significant. Like we invest like a lot of money into ads every single month. Yeah. And the vast majority of it is on the media side of things.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think marketing has always been like sexy, and whether that's fashion where you got lipstick and hair and makeup, or in the dirt world where you're literally slinging stuff around, it has to look good. And if you have something that looks good or at least captures attention, it's going to be a lot easier to translate that into something and get, again, that qualified attention that you guys are looking for.
100%.
You got to really like practice what you preach, you know, like it's such a weird thing when you even have like a web design company and you go on their website and their website sucks, or like it's a media company and you look at their media and it like sucks. It's like,
or it hasn't been updated in like 2 years.
Exactly. Right. So it's like making sure it actually like works. And like the whole message from like the, you know, blue collar marketing to like what you see on our sites, to what you see on our merchandise, to what you see like with the videos, like it all has to kind of like flow for someone to kind of like get it. Yeah. We found like is working very, very well, because I imagine if like we just had like text ads or, you know, image ads, we definitely wouldn't have the response that we've been getting. Like it's a big kudos to I think like the videos that you guys have been whipping up and like how we've kind of displayed them in terms of like some of our ad campaigns for it to like work really well because people are like kind of envisioning their own brand. Like they're kind of picturing themselves in the videos when they come to us because like, okay, I want my brand to be like that.
To look, they have kind of proof of concept from what they've already seen. Like it's triggered a response. How do you guys go about like consistency of it? Because a lot of companies, especially like small, medium-sized companies, they go through this like it's not like feast and famine, but kind of. So it's like you're like influx with sales when you start doing a bunch of posting, then you go to fulfillment, and then you're like stuck in fulfillment, and a lot of that like your own content takes a back seat. How have you guys navigated that, and like what have you put in place to keep things consistent at least?
We set up a subscription with you guys.
We're
getting.
I wasn't actually looking for the plug on that one.
We're getting a bill anyway, so we have to do it.
Nice, perfect. So get on retainer.
There you go. $2,000 a month plus HST.
There you go, and you're set.
No, but legitimately, we're like, hey, we need to make sure that we are like constantly updating this, and it was like, this is a perfect way to do it. We're paying for it. We need to get out there and post this stuff. You know? And then obviously like on the back end side of things is like having the systems in place to actually be able to like manage things properly, which I think like we have gotten figured out like very, very well now, but there's still always room for improvement. You know what I mean? Like our advertising media is dialed right now. And then sometimes like our social media posting like lacks, you know what I mean? So we've definitely been consistent on some things and dropped the ball on others, you know what I mean? So having like the SOPs and business practices and everything like that in place to be able to like properly manage this stuff is super important and something that it's been a huge effort so far in 2023. So
big time.
It's going well, but always room for improvement, I think.
Yeah, just juggling, really, I'd say. Stuff, whenever you do something full on, like there's always gonna be like something that slips by, and you're just trying to keep everything all up at once, almost, you know.
For sure, but yeah, no, I actually agree with that point of like just like spending, like locking yourself into spending the money because it's an easy thing for people to drop especially when they get busy. So like if you do at least a website can continue to live, but maybe like SEO, somebody might come on for a period of time and they're like, yeah, it's performing great. We don't need you anymore. And then it's like kind of reframing that to be like, wait, it's performing great. We should keep it going so we can continue to grow and be able to, again, fulfill that new influx of work.
That's even the thing with like when our clients come in too, like for some of like the recurring packs we have, like, okay, well my busy times like aren't like, I don't do like, snow service or anything. So can I just like stop advertising or stop like, the contract that I have with you guys for the months? And like our response to that is like, it very much has to be more of like a well-rounded approach, like there's different things that we can prep your business for, like, for example, like in the spring, like if you want to start ranking for like interlock or something like that and you're not there yet, like we can take those next 6 to 7 months during your non-busy season, start kind of working towards getting you up there for that. So it's very much like having that well-rounded around the clock thing. It's not just something that's like instantaneous, you know what I mean? So,
I was going to ask that because obviously we're seasonal. We're not like the southern states where you can just continue work as usual. Navigating that must be a little bit more interesting, or have to put certain things in place that other regions you wouldn't have to consider, right?
Luckily, we do work with a lot of companies that do also offer like winter services.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Chris was saying,
like snow removal.
A lot of landscaping companies, it's like they all do snow removal as well too, which is helpful. And then we do work with companies in the south as well too that are just going all year round, which is nice. But also too, like these guys want to book like a year in advance, and a lot of the jobs like that they're doing, they can, right? So like having the ability to have like get more leads and be able to like pick and choose jobs as opposed to just being like, I'll take everything just to fill my schedule. Like that's very important to people, you know what I mean? So advertising all year round like allows you to do that. Right. So making sure that we can like book you fully for summer 2024 ahead of time and just keep going, you know what I mean, is super reassuring to these guys. So that's kind of the play that we really try and like focus on, and just that ability to be able to, you don't have to take all these shitty jobs. Like you can just pick the ones that are above a certain value and the ones that you really want to do.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's cool. What is not client related, but what's like maybe it's the rat thing, I don't know. But what's the craziest thing you guys have gone through on your way to get to where you are today?
Let's save a couple for these, but do the most recent aquarium.
Oh my god!
Outfitting our office, and it was just been a HGTV nightmare.
Actually, why?
Oh my God.
What a fucking disaster! This was 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Two weeks ago on Monday. Fuck. So Chris is in Toronto. I'm at the office. We just invested a ton of money into this new media space, which I think I
looks
sent.
dope.
I think I sent you. Well, it looked dope.
What do you mean look?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
At least you got your videos recorded.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. We got those done.
Different background now.
Yeah, so we put a 125-gallon fish tank in this room. That sat for like 10, 15 years or something like that. Hadn't been used. There's never been any water in it
So the
before.
seals are fucked or what?
Well, we had a professional who said they were actually okay. And then I'm on Zoom with Chris. So keep in mind, we got this thing filled with water on the Thursday. This is now the Monday. So this thing was live for 4 days. I showed my girlfriend on Saturday. She took a photo of me in front of the fish. Like, I'm so proud of you, all this kind of stuff. Like, we're so fired up. And then, Monday afternoon, I'm on Zoom with Chris, and we were talking about social media, like planning out everything for the month, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah.
And it's about like 3:30 in the afternoon. I start to hear running water. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Chris thinks I'm like messing with him. It's beginning of April. It's like maybe an April Fool's Day. I'm like, man, I am not fucking with you. Like, there's running water in here. So like, I go around the side of the fish tank, like poke my head around it, and there is water pouring out of this thing.
Are fish
onto the
inhabiting
floor.
this thing?
There's
at this
only-
point?
We had
There's
three
only
fish.
three.
Yeah,
Okay.
we had
luckily.
three like $6 fish.
The shark's not in there yet.
Humongous too. Like this is like for 125 gallons. If you don't like, that is a lot of water.
It's
It
like
is.
the size of this table.
Oh,
Yes,
and just
yeah.
tall.
Yeah.
It's thousands of
Yeah,
pounds.
it
You
is.
cannot move it. And the leak is at the far
It is
back
bad.
corner.
Start bailing.
So basically what ensued over the next hour and a half, Chris watched on Zoom as me and the two maintenance guys were absolutely drenched, just diverting as much water as possible. Like we were just like holding buckets underneath the tank, just like throwing them to each other, like dumping them in bigger buckets and then wheeling them out to like get the thing drained. The entire thing drained into the office. So all 125 gallons. And our office is located above a hotel room.
Yeah.
So we're currently waiting for a bill. So you gotta always expect the unexpected. Make sure you have a cash reserve in case shit hits the fan. Like random shit like this happens, man. Like that you just don't expect. Like we got to enjoy this room for 4 goddamn days.
Two of the days we're away.
Yeah. We're very lucky it didn't happen on the weekend.
Yeah.
We was there.
We would have been actually
it would've
screwed.
been fucked.
Felt like I was watching like there's a scene in Interstellar when he's like banging against the glass because he can't get through the fourth dimension and something's happening. I literally felt like that was on Zoom, and I felt like so helpless just watching this tank. I'm just waiting for the bottom just to like, because it's going out at a good pace, but I'm just waiting for the whole thing just to completely fall
explode.
out.
Yeah.
Like I'm watching like the carpet get like darker and darker in front of the tank, and I'm
You're
like,
on Zoom the whole time.
oh, I'm like I'm almost crying, man. I'm like, this was like finally our actual sanctuary that we've been building, and
Literally.
it's already been such a pain in the ass. Like every little thing that could
Yeah.
go wrong was going wrong with this room. This was like the icing on the cake almost, to be honest. Yeah.
Complete shit show. Like it just like after like it was probably 5 o'clock at this point. It's been an hour and a half, and it just go back over to Zoom, and Chris is just sitting there, and I'm like absolutely drenched, and I'm like, yeah. So the tank's fucked. The fish guy came back and said it's fucked. It's like, yeah, no shit, Ray. It's gone, man. So yeah, that was interesting. I ended up leaving the office like 8:30 after everything was cleaned up. It was like 5 hours of just dealing with this nonsense. So that was just like a regular Monday afternoon. So random stuff like that comes up. I don't know. That's the most
Definitely
recent thing that comes to
recent,
mind.
Yeah.
The rats one was funny just because that was us just trying to like we just had to find a spot that was like cheap. Like I started working at Domino's again to fucking pay for some of the rent there, and I also got like this marketing job for like a month that I just signed on for 1 month contract and basically said
Just
I
to
would do it
float you
long
through.
term. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then ditch
Did
that.
do it long term.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, I'm totally
Every
excited to be
employer's
here.
worst
Yeah,
nightmare.
exactly. And
It's like, yeah, I'll be here for like at least a couple years.
and I'm
First
sorry.
check clears. So, yeah.
Catch
that
you later.
meme just like this.
Yeah,
like,
peace.
fade out.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, the rats were something special. Like it was like a place on Division, and like we're coming from the sanctuary, working here, coming from the sanctuary, and then COVID hits. We're now working from home basically the whole time, and like these rats just start coming from like there's like almost like a patio place that's like on the top of the house, and they like went in, and like I still have videos of just like the scratching. It was like right underneath my room, and like I thought these things were gonna break out and just take me to whatever the Rat King or whatever, and just take me for good. But it was actually insane. Like the noises are just so unsettling. It was that one was wild.
unreal.
Yeah.
Damn.
You at least had Lindsay in town, and so he got to go somewhere else. I had to stay there by myself with the rats, man. Terrified.
How's the fan?
Like a flame on all night, just
legit,
like
man.
keep them away.
God damn, man. Yeah,
That's hilarious.
Scary times.
So you guys went like all in straight out of the gate. What's your opinion on like doing a side thing until something can take over? If you're like kind of wanting to start that entrepreneurial journey versus going all in. What are your thoughts?
I think that's a dope question because I feel like it really depends on Wes and I had a chat about this about a buddy of ours, but I think that's like very. You have to really see like who you are as a person and kind of what you want to, like how you want your entrepreneurial route to go and like your risk level and your stress level. Because like for us to jump in, it was very stressful and like thank God and like obviously through hard work we got her done to kind of get to where we are now. But like there's some people where I definitely wouldn't recommend that route or it'd be smarter. Like I'd say even the beginning, sometimes it's like, damn, it'd be nice to actually have a little bit of income while we're doing this at the same time rather than actually like starting to sell stuff that you're not even too interested in, right? Just to try and get some money into it. I feel like it really depends on the type of person. And if you're going to go all in, like have a very concrete plan of what you're doing, what you're selling, what your service is. So you don't have to kind of figure that out while you're doing it at the same time. But
we did that while making no money.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That was like not a great idea, to be honest with you. But yeah, I 100% agree. We talked about this the other day. You know,
Legit.
It's so dependent on who you are.
Yeah, teaches you some stuff though. At the same time, that I'm happy that we went through it. Like from like just managing stress and like projects that have to go well because it's not even like it's just paying the bills. Like it's paying the bills plus our house. Like this is like a lot of things are depending, like our food and stuff like that. So kind of let us deal with like the stress level. I think I got pretty good at that, which was nice.
Yeah. Are you naturally like pretty risk adverse or like are you pretty calculated?
I think we complement each other.
Yeah.
Like I think we're definitely like I'd say for what we're doing, we're risky individuals. But like I think the way that Wes and I look at problems are like very good. Where I think Wes is like very analytical, logical. Where I could be, I don't know what the other end of that.
So like
be.
the more creative, like just
Careless.
like just action, just go, just do it.
I think there's like a nice balance there, which is why I think we work well together.
Yeah. Yeah, how do you navigate that partnership? Like, how do you define your roles within that space? Because that can be tough for a lot of people, especially, I mean, you guys worked in teams, like you guys both played football and stuff together, but how do you determine that hierarchy, like, of what roles and tasks each other takes on?
Communication, I think. We've had, this is our second business now that we've done, so it's kind of like sorted itself out, like just through naturally working with each other, but yeah, I think like communication is probably like the biggest thing at the end is just making sure like if I have a difference of opinion, like rather than we say it's like a dating thing almost, you know, it's not like me and him, me versus him. It's like me and him versus the problem, you know? Loves when I say it, you know, it's like we're in a relationship, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but it's like very much like we're attacking the problem rather than it being like, you know, my opinion versus your opinion. Almost like that.
Yeah, I think we do a pretty good job of just being like, okay, like here's my thoughts, like here's Chris's thoughts, and like this is nothing like personal. It's like let's just like take the positives of both, and like come to a solution. You know?
Do you start with the end goal in mind? With that being said, then like you're both working towards this goal, so everything kind of works backwards from there. And as long as it's with that in mind, keeping that progression moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think we both have like very different perspectives on things certain times. So like it helps be like I won't think of something that Chris brings forward and vice versa, right? And it's like, oh shit, I didn't even consider that. You know what I mean? So it honestly, more often than not, it goes back to like having a good partner at the beginning. It's like it allows you to like find better solutions than if you were just by yourself being like, oh fuck it, I guess this is the best way to go. You know what I mean? Having that like soundboard is super helpful, even for things that are like in my respect of the business. You know what I mean? Just getting Chris's opinion on. At the end of the day, it may be my choice just because it's something that like I oversee, but like getting his thoughts on it is super helpful. You know?
Right. What's been your biggest ceiling of growth? Like, what has that been? That one barrier that either like keeps coming up or that you're currently dealing with? Like, what is that ceiling?
I think it's tough because now we're like really fleshing into an industry now. Like we're niching into blue collar, which has its own like challenges. But I think like a big thing that we've recognized in at least this early year is like the systemizing everything. Because in terms of like having systems to onboard like a certain amount of capacity. So very much I'd say like from like a project side to like a tech side, like Wes working with like Harrison and like our project managers to like make sure like we're not like at a capacity to that point. It's gonna be big from like client communication because the more projects we get, like the more intricacies are going to be in there too as well. And then from like a tech side, like how much our developers can do, like we'll be working with Sasha, like how much she can handle, how much we might have to use for like another team too as well. So like I'd say like balancing like that capacity, and again speaking to that end thing of like making sure that we're delivering a product that's the same quality that, you know, if it was just Wes and I doing it. So kind of finding that fine balance of like capacity to like delivering the service or something like that, I'd say maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good answer. I think too, it's just like, having those systems in place and like hiring at the right times. Like we've made 2 mistakes where we hired like late, essentially.
Okay.
We should have hired beforehand, you know what I mean? Like being able to like predict those situations and like accurately kind of like predict the demand of our services and stuff is going to be like very important moving forward. And we've got like a very like solid like core team that like we're going to like be able to grow with for years, which we're super fired up about.
That's cool. How is recruitment in that space? Like, is it easy to find talent, or is it like saturated with talent and good developers, or is it that a big challenge?
It's funny because like the guys that we work with in the trades, the job market is a complete shit show right now. Like it is so tough for these guys to find like quality workers, where for us, like we put a job post out and within 2 days we have like well over 100 applicants.
Damn.
So it's like more, it is, it's fucked. So it's like more just like sifting through and finding like good quality people that are also going to just like mesh well with our team and like have that like commitment and stuff like that. There's, you know, making sure that, you know, these guys are like willing to work and like come to a collective goal that like, hey, like we have this in mind in the future. You know what I mean? Like we're really working to build that. It's not just like your regular like 9 to 5. We're trying to build something like really cool here, and like finding people to like buy in is like super important. So we get tons of applications. It's more just like sifting through and like finding the good ones, to be honest with you.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's very rare.
Yeah.
Like in this work, like culture,
Yeah.
atmosphere setting right now.
Yeah.
I feel like, just like with what we went through, like recruitment is the biggest ceiling that we see in a lot of our clients anyways. Like a lot of marketing budgets have moved from, you know, promoting services to just trying to find and recruit good talent. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
That you guys are saturated. Like it's easier to find, or you can be a little bit more critical with your applicants in terms of finding somebody that really fits.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, kind of a blessing, to be honest.
Yeah. Because like at the end of the day, like it is a very costly mistake to hire the wrong person. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like there's training, there's this, that, and the other thing. So like being able to like make a solid decision and have like a pool to pick from is super important. So we just got to make sure we do it on time this time, so we don't absolutely sewer ourselves.
Third time's the charm.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go.
That's what they say.
Yeah, there we go.
Exactly.
Amazing. Well, this has been awesome, guys. Anything you guys want to talk about that we didn't cover, or anything?
Yeah, any topics? No.
Call it all. Dylan, you got anything you want to throw out there?
Do you guys, I know you guys specialize in the blue collar industry, plumbing, all that sort of thing, and I think it's very smart. But do you guys ever take a client outside of that spectrum?
Yeah, so for like website design projects, so technically our company operates right now as like one corp, but there's 2 sub brands within it. So Imperium, the agency that we originally started, is still like fully functioning as like a high-end web design agency, only taking on the logo and website projects. There's no like recurring marketing services we offer there. So we'll do websites anywhere between like $1,500 to like $50,000 type deal. So that side of the business is still running. So if a law firm like approached us to do a website, like we would 100% do that. It would just be all done through Imperium.
Got it.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah.
Cool. You guys want to give your plugs? Where can people find you, follow you, hire you?
Oh, plug. Here we go. Okay.
Whoa.
There we are. Does it sound like a commercial voice here? There we go. For all your digital marketing needs for construction, contracting, general trades, please visit us at bluecollarmarketing.ca or give us a ring at 613-299-2053. We'll be happy to give you a hand.
What's your ratio of calls to web inquiries? I imagine people in the trade still probably call a lot, like, because a lot of these guys are they that tech savvy in the like blue collar space, or do you still is it like 50-50?
It's honestly right now, I think it's just the way that we advertise. It's less calls, more just like online submissions. Like most of our leads come through our website.
Cool.
Our call to action is basically for like website bookings. But if we did like a radio ad that was like call blah blah blah.
Yeah.
That might work better on that side. But
Have you guys utilized traditional to reach the traditional, like advertised in the same space as a lot of the companies that are using those traditional means? Have you guys leveraged those to also meet them kind of where they're at in their
for
marketing?
Imperium, we did. We
Okay.
did like TV commercials, which work really well. Shout out Adam. for-
Oh yeah,
there.
yeah,
Yeah,
sweet,
Of course.
nice.
So that went awesome. Like that was wicked. But for like the more blue collar side, I think we definitely have plans to kind of do that. Just like picking those right locations. Like when's the best time to have like a more significant investment for like a TV or like a radio ad there.
Yeah,
Because then as soon as you do that, like you're just going to be restricted to like those locations, clients. And right now, there's like no like marketing agency that's like a trades industry, like a trades marketing firm for a certain location.
right.
So I'd say that's kind of like secondary, like in terms of like advertising, but definitely something we would do. It'd be kick ass to get something going in like Georgia or something like Miami or something. you know?
Yeah.
We actually got
100%.
pricey for Florida.
Yeah, big time.
actually.
Oh yeah,
It's not cheap. Let me tell you.
for radio or for like broadcast for TV?
Yeah, for TV.
Like a like a state network or like a localized network.
I can't remember what it was, to be honest with
It
you.
was like one of those ABC kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, so like Channel 4 for
Yeah.
Miami or Fort Lauderdale or
I
something.
think you were looking at like 20 grand a month, though, like minimum.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, even Toronto is expensive on the TV side.
very much so. Kingston is super affordable, honestly.
Man,
It's crazy.
It's the easiest. It's a no-brainer on the value side.
Oh, no.
We took the same risk you guys did because there was
Yeah.
no production company in the history of Chorus between Ottawa to Toronto that's ever advertised. So we rolled that dice. I think you guys were the first web developer.
I think we rolled the dice because you rolled the dice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were
Yeah,
saying yours were. I was like, fuck it, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, we
too.
ran ours was like that cycle of like the peak to valley. We ran ours for like 90 days and we're like, fuck, we got to cut everything because
Say word.
we don't have people. We got to fill the work. So, but yeah, no, that's awesome. Very cool. Well, thanks so much for coming in, guys. And
Hey, thanks for having us, man. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
so sweet.
heck yeah, amazing. Thank you.